Hello, Brother Monroe here. Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts and to a little ship that I've built here that... Well, this isn't the video I was originally going to make. I was originally going to make... Because the balance patch for 1.7 isn't out yet. I had some time to record. I thought I'd do some experimentation with different types of shells, different types of guns. See if I could find some interesting things to do with penetration. And I ended up discovering something a little bit different. So welcome to the Veneer Armata. By the way, a past me will appear after this little segment to say welcome again. But this is because I'm recording this after doing the rest of the video. I know, seems weird, bear with me. You'll notice that the Veneer Armata here is doing some odd things. It is firing with 20-ish% accuracy at a target that is 30 kilometers away with Mark IV 15-inch 45 caliber guns. What is going on, you may ask? And are we able to... What have I done? Well, I've been fiddling around with different shell combinations. I've been trying stuff that's a little bit different. And yeah, I think I've come across a nasty little combo. And I have switched up to HE on purpose. And you'll notice I'm doing all this at times 10 because the game isn't really used to engagements taking place at this range. I did beef up the armour on this ship a bit. I'm only using HE because it's at a bad angle. Trying to destroy its superstructure. But I did up armour it to kind of prevent that strategy working on purpose. But, oh, there we go. Pens. Lots of them. Yeah, this ship has turned, it's gone broadside, and it's getting hammered. Truly and utterly brutalized. And these shells are coming in quickly, accurately. Look at the accuracy on this. 94%. And we are... what? We're at a range of 23 kilometers or so. This is just brutal. Utterly brutal. The ship started rolling over, but not the way that it wants to. Getting a bit of rollover. I'm going to switch back to HE. Just because we're at that little bit of a bad angle. We've got better speed and wait until we're over there. Oh, there's the hits on the main tower that I was talking about from the HE shells. They've turned in against us again. Probably because we're opening up the range a little bit too much. Let's go like this. Again, very high accuracy. They're trying to engage. This is a very, very slow ship to make it nice and easy to hit. But you'll get the general gist of it. Okay, try some AP now. There we go. Because now we can go the length of the ship. Some 4-inch guns joining in. And you're probably sat there thinking, what is this? This is not an impressive looking ship. It's probably got no armour or something, and you're just showing off, you know, that poor AI ship. What are you up to? Well, I've stumbled across a little combo that I think is pretty darn good. And it's one of the reasons I love this game is because sometimes I just decided to try something. And you'll see in the rest of the video how I got to this point. But in case you are wondering, what on earth was that chump ship shot at? What armor was it using? Well, here it is. So it has 2 turrets very far apart, so that all of this on the ship counts as citadel. It has a very big citadel. It has a 20-inch main belt, 10-inch main deck with 10-inch, 5 and 2.5 belt layers, 5, 2.5, 1.5 deck layers. The extended bits are armored to 10-inch and 5-inch respectively. So this is a well-protected ship. This is the sort of armor scheme that I would generally recommend that you run for a ship with like 18-inch guns. And it just got brutalized, completely brutalized at very long range. How did I do it? Well, for that you're going to have to watch the rest of the video, and I'm going to hand over to past me to guide you through the rest of it. Hello, Brother Monroe here. Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, and a bit of a different video, actually. I'm doing an experiment of sorts. I have a battleship versus a battleship, but the Chinese battleship is not a challenge. It is the chump, specially designed as essentially a target ship. It has an extremely large citadel with a fairly standard late game scheme of a 16-inch belt, 8-inch main deck, and the kind of halving layering. It's using modern 2 armor, an all or nothing scheme, and this is kind of the what I would call a standard to decent level of protection for your typical battleship, up to kind of a 16-incher. And if you've watched my how to campaign videos or my how to design battleship videos, you'll recognise this armor scheme. This is, and I use it quite a lot. It's decent. It works. What is the best way to defeat it? Now I'm doing this on 1.1.7, which has had some improvements to the armor penetration kind of mechanics. And what we're going to go for first is we're going to go for what I think a lot of players will do if they're new to the game. We're going to go for, first of all, we're going to try improved APBC, TNT4, triple base, super heavy shells. Straightforward thing on this Italian ship. We're going to be using 15-inch 45 caliber guns. These are the best Mark IVs you can get in custom battles in the 1940s. I think they represent a fairly typical battleship kind of weapon that people might deploy. They're well rounded, they've got a good rate of fire and decent penetration, decent range and so on. So I think this is a fairly normal setup for people to want to try and use late game. And the test is going to be very, very simple. All I want to do is to find the enemy ship, engage it as best I can, keeping all my guns firing as best I can, and just see how many shells it takes for us to sink the enemy vessel that is coming in against us. And what the kind of penetration kind of, what's it called, breakdown is like at the end. So what kind of range are we engaging at here? About 24, 25 kilometers. We are starting to score a couple of hits. They're overpenning the extended bits of the ship, which would represent a kind of cruiser level of armor. I have made the citadel as big as possible to try and avoid that. I'm overpenning the main deck at this range, so we can definitely pen it, which is nice, even with the layering. It was all blocked there as well, actually. I do like this Italian hull, but yeah, no fancy tactics here, just blazing away. Four-inch guns I don't expect to be doing very much, but they are there to, well, I mean, make your fire realistic. You really should be designing your ships with those secondary guns. A lot of overpens. Again, I really should not be hitting the extended bits this much. You'd think the cities of this size would be mostly hits to the main bit, although we're hitting the main tower quite a lot. Yeah, main deck overpen. Maybe we have too much penetration, just overpenning it the whole time. What are we at now? 17.5-ish. Yeah, 54-inch effective. 54 divided by, what's their armor quality? I can't see. It'll be the same as mine. 2.63. Yeah, we're going through about 20 inches of deck. That thing has 8, and then 4, and then 2, and then 1.5. So even if it was additive, which it shouldn't be, because multiple layers are not as effective as a single thick layer, you've got 17.5 inch, something like that. So an overpen is perhaps, there was a pen on the aft belt of all things, which is just a plain 8-inch thing, and I wish there was a breakdown of deck versus belt that you could view at the end. So far we've got 263 hits. Yeah, we're out to about 20 kilometers now. Now, the chump here does have maximum bulkheads, all of the kind of damage control stuff that you can put on it. It is designed to be reasonably challenging to sink. And, I mean, you'd expect that flooding to be a bit worse for it. So far, no luck. And overpens to the main tower are not going to cut it. I mean, this is a mission kill. They really can't do anything at this point. Obviously, if they had bigger guns, with a sensible layout, etc., they'd be firing back. But point remains. There we go. Finally go down. Let's see how we did. So we killed the ship with. Just gonna make a note of this. 384 hits, of which only 7 were pens and 265 were overpens. Okay, that's Not great. Let's try again. But this time we're going to downgrade from super heavy to standard shells. Now, if I'm running triple base or cordite ships, I tend to run the standard shells just because, you know, super heavy gives you a 30% flash fire chance, which is pretty high compared to, you know, especially if you're running cordite, that gives you a little bit of, cordite 2, it gives you a little bit of extra flash fire chance. So I like to try and keep that as low as possible. So I tend to run standard shells with my cordite ships. So let's see if downgrading our shell actually improves our ability to kill this enemy ship. And it might seem counterintuitive to use standard shells instead of super heavy ones, because they do less damage, but sometimes it can help. Not really scoring any hits at the moment. Well, they scored one. Now, I'm curious. The accuracy might be a bit lower this time. Let's see. We're getting overpens at whatever range this is. 24 kilometers. But there we've got a penetration on the forward belt. That's a 4-inch plate. We end up getting overpens on the main deck. I would expect more pens. We've got a pen there. Belt. So that's an 8-inch plate. You can see the number of deck hits. I do think there's something a little wonky going on with how the game is detecting deck belt hits. I wonder if I can catch the shells coming in actually. Okay, here they come. Yeah, they hit kind of here, and it's registering that as a deck armor hit, which it would be. Yes. I mean, if it's coming in like this, I would actually expect that to be an overpen. But it seems like we're getting a lot of deck hits. And really, it should be hitting this superstructure. Interesting. Anyway, continue to keep an eye on it. I would say that the chump looks a little bit worse for wear this time. I think it's running into the rolling over issue, but you know, it happens a lot that the ships roll over. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about with that, if you see the ship is currently angled towards us, that means Ultimate Admiral, I'm pretty sure, just regards this here as the deck. So I'm getting a lot of deck hits. Which I only find odd, because historically deck armor was more about bombs than shells, and the deck armor was not on a warship, wasn't usually here. It was usually at least 2 decks down. It was normally kind of here. Not that Ultimate Admiral models the stuff inside the ship. That's a little. I'm just, you know, curious and making conversation while I wait for the chump to sink. How many shots are we up to at the moment? 283. And I think it is useful to do this kind of big picture kind of way of looking at how effective shells are, because you can very easily just look at the stats and go, yep, that's it. And we're actually running low on ammunition. Interesting. Now, this is not using the balance mod, by the way. I think if you did this again under the balance mod, it would be a different result. I'm just very surprised at the number of overpens we're getting. You would think, you know, 8-inch main deck, if you look at historical warships, an 8-inch main deck backed up by, you know, a 4, 2 and a 1.5-inch layer is pretty hefty. But then again, maybe the overpens are representing it just kind of going through and through. But you think with the ship rolled over like this, you know, hits kind of here are going to go right deep in the ship. But we're nearly out of AP shells. And no, I'm not closing in. I'm deliberately staying at the sort of engagement range where, you know, we've got a very good chance to hit. Might as well take it. How many shots are we up to now? 484. Notice the 4-inch guns haven't done anything apart from setting fires. That's good. That's pretty much what you would hope for. You really shouldn't be able to damage a battleship with where the lowest armor is 2 inches. Not this sort of range. Almost out of the AP shells. None. Okay, I'm going to stop it there because I don't want it firing AP. So, annoyingly, I think we're going to have to look at this. So, we have 526 hits. Will it tell me the number of pens? Yeah. 7 pens, so that's the same as with the using the super heavy shells. 268 overpins, which is roughly the same number. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, cool. Let's try again, but let's use my the setup that I've used quite a lot, which is to use super heavy tube powder shells, and see how we do now. Now straight away I notice we've got less range. Must do. So fire again. Blocked. Interesting. Locked aft deck block. That could be the overflow problem. Yeah, they're getting overbends on the main deck. I'm surprised. Oh, a couple of pens. It's more like it. Forward belt. Deck block. Really surprising when you see those. Devs have been trying to track down what's causing that. I'm pretty sure that should be an overpen. Not a blocked, but these things happen. Well, there we go. That was a good shot. Half belt pen. Range are we at? About 17 kilometers. A little bit closer than the other engagements have been. We don't have quite the same accuracy, but we are landing more penetrating hits, which is good. Overpens. Just endless overpens. Very weird. Because these shells are coming in an even steeper angle. One thing the balance mod does change, or at least I think it does. I think overpens happen if you have a pen factor of 2. And the balance mod changes that to more like 3. So you do see more penetrations. Chump is still going though. Just taking those hits. Another half belt. Oh, belt. Okay, that's fair enough. They did it at a funny angle. Just going to consistently hit. Oh, now we're hitting belts. Sometimes I just how do we hit the belt when it's like underwater? Very curious. Expect to be scoring all deck hits at the moment. And then the 4-deck block. So yeah, I don't think that over-penetration issues, overflow issue has gone away. I don't know what else to call that. I know it's probably not an overflow, but what are we at now? 270 hits, so it's very similar. I don't think this is useful information. Overpenning, overpenning, overpenning. We're overpenning all the time. Let's do something very different then. Let's go for the super heavy shells just for the damage, but rather than TNT. Gives me the most shell damage buff. That's, well, it's 20%. which is pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. Keep the TNT then. 6%. Let's go triple base super heavies. But rather than cap ballistics, let's go for... Do any of them boost? Boost damage? I don't think they do. Let's go for a standard AP shell. See if we can see if there's any difference. So these are big, heavy, dumb shells. Really big, heavy, dumb shells. Oh, and we're target locking. Okay, that's less than ideal. I wonder if that is just bad luck, or whether that is actually to do with the setup. So I didn't see that with the others. And yes, I will just restart the battle rather than waiting 4 hours for the guns to fix themselves. It's both overpens. Still overpenning. Is the armour on the chump even working? Main deck overpens. Main deck overpens. What is going on? Right. As much deck as you can possibly fit. Okay. Not that much. I don't want to see overpens. Just under 24 inches of main deck armor plate. With against standard shells, this should not give overpens. I don't know what else to try. After deck pen. Main deck pen, there we go. Really? Main deck pen? What is the deck pen at this range? 23 kilometers. Call it 22 and a half. Maximum deck pen 53.6. We should just be able to go through it. Yeah, now we're getting partials. When we hit the main deck, and over when we hit the extended. A couple of big penetrating hits. Remember, this is with standard shells. Still able to see. Now we're getting partial pens with two. I mean, what we'd like to do is go through the belt, but we're not really hitting the belt. I wonder, can you be really sneaky? I'm going to lower the draft on this ship. And I'm going to take away the belt. Completely. And we're going to go for the full 24 and... No, not quite. But we're going to go for really heavily armoured decks. Can you just game the system like that? Because we're only just able to go through the main deck at the sort of ranges that we can hit it. 20 kilometers. With this setup, the standard shells. Target locking. God damn it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you see the aiming progress go negative, that's always a bad sign. You can fix it in multi-ship battles. It's been a perennial problem, I think. I'm trying to remember when it first appeared. There was one version of the game where it was appalling, and it went away for a bit, and it just resurfaces every now and then. A really nasty little persistent bug. Yeah, a couple of main deck pens when we're further out at 25. I've taken the belt armor off this ship. I wonder if we get any hits to the belt. Main deck pen. Oh, main deck pen. Yeah, all these hits going onto the deck. Every single one. And if we stay at range, should be able to deal with it. Main belt partial. There's 9" on the main deck. Main deck pen, main deck pen. I'm looking for belt hits. There's one. Over pen. That's weird. It feels like we're able to sink this ship faster. But even though we were just so confused. I tell you what, there's one more thing I want to try. What happens if we go for a very different build? We're going to go for as much muzzle velocity as possible. I want to fire shells basically flat. Do we still get a lot of deck hits? Now, one thing that I do know that this particular build does, if you're struggling with accuracy at long range for your ships, try optimizing for muzzle velocity, because the game now calculates range based on muzzle velocity. And you notice the range on these guns is nearly 40 kilometers, 10 kilometers more than what we were able to do before. And look at that accuracy at long range. 60% we're at the moment. We're still on the ×10 modifier, and we are racking up hits like nobody's business. Look at that. 99 at 24 kilometers. Oh, well, this is a fun one. Maybe I will publish this video after all. It was me thinking it was going to be just boring, what's going on. So these are designed to fire low and flat. But that accuracy... Oh my. Oh, this could be very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And these are only 15-inch guns. Now that you'd think, oh, the angle, and I am getting ricochets, but it's not helping them that much. I wonder, what happens if you combine this with another odd shell choice that you don't normally see? Look at this thing go! See, now we're getting way more belt hits, which of course the ship doesn't have any. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, what happens if we you know, accommodate that new weakness? We put the belt armor back to normal, and we go with this kind of standard scheme that I had before. And the other thing I want to do is, I haven't fired any HE shells, but these Camp Ballistics have a muzzle velocity boost. How fast can you get the HE shells going? 1,088 meters per second. Interesting. Very interesting. Because, yeah, this gun, this ship, and this gun system, the enemy ship should appear in a moment. %, right off the bat. How far away is it? 30 kilometers. And we already scored a hit. Damn. Main deck overpen. Oh yeah, of course, because I reduced the... So see, we're getting ricochets and stuff. Try some HE shells. Try those capitalistic HE shells. I want to see what happens. Here they come. Mostly partial pens. Oh, pen on the tower. Yeah, it's mostly partials. Still. Could be interesting. There we go, they're turning now. Back to the AP shells. Still, all decades. It's like the flattest thing I can do. Of course, this is the reduced draft ship. So, if you're wanting to cheese it, that armoured flat top does work. This is remarkably deadly. I kind of love it. And it is performing a lot better than the other setups in this pretty much original scenario. I could increase the draft again to make it a fair test, but you can kind of see that it's really going for it. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, yes, I want to reset the draft to 0 so that we can actually do a fair test. And yeah, what was the pen on those HE shells? Ooh, spicy. Very spicy. I saw 4.5 inches of pen at about 22,500 meters. That is pretty spooky, because that means if you load HE on this ship, you should be able to delete, and you've seen the accuracy of it, you should be able to delete destroyers at utterly mad ranges. This thing has a crazy rate of fire. We've already scored the first hit, which was an overpen. Let's try some HE at this extreme range. Main tower hit. Main tower on this is 2-inch. Ooh. Oh, see what I mean? Like you can punch through the destroyer-like, it's slightly better than destroyer-like armor on this thing, which is the main tower superstructure armor. That's their main tower, pretty badly hurt. You can destroy their upperworks and get some frightening hits in. Fire control damage. I mean, look at this thing. Oh, huh. Okay. Switched up to AP. Let's see if we can go through the actual armor a bit. I think the upperworks are well and truly destroyed. This shell's coming in. Yeah, hit like here, saying it's an overpen, like that is not good. That should completely ruin the ship. To be fair, it is doing a hell of a lot of damage. And again, at extreme range, like we're 23 kilometers, and the jump here is pretty much done for. Interesting. Very interesting. Huh. What are you up to now? Yeah, 200 odd hits. One thing I would say with this type of ship, carry more ammunition, because you're going to blow through it really fast. But yeah, before you say, oh, but here the ship's going in, whereas before it was broadside to you, that's because of the range. The ship, the AI ship would turn broadside to me if it was able to fire its guns, but it can't. It can't even get in range. So it's coming straight in at me, which is a worst case scenario, by the way, for these improved armoured ballistic cap shells. Like, the whole reason that some people avoid them is because of ricochets, but look at that. That's actually better. 305 hits, but 39 were pens. I don't know, I fired some HE in there as well, but only 106 were overpens. Huh. Very interesting. Well, I think if you are bored with Dreadnoughts, if you are like, no, I'm done with design, I know exactly what I'm going to pick, which is a trap I fall into as well, by the way. Where I just go, yeah, it's standard, tube powder, whatever. Or maybe you're a cordite person. Try something a bit different. Go use the dunite. Get that 10% shell pen on those shells, which is, by the way, the highest of any of them. Yeah, you don't get that lovely hull weight reduction, and the damage is not quite as good, but 10% pen, 10% damage compared to 4% pen, 20% damage. Not the end of the world. Try using triple. This does work with cordite as well, by the way, but the triple base in particular for that 2.5% shell muzzle velocity increase. Pretty much everything else decreases it, and in fact, tube powder this gets worse. Go with the light shells for that 12.5% shell muzzle velocity boost. Get the improved cap ballistics again for the muzzle velocity boost. And try using CPPC HE shells. I'm pleasantly surprised by this little setup. This is a nice little thing. I'm just really pleased with it. I'm trying to think. I'm going to try it against something that's a bit chunkier. Let's say 20-inch. Let's go for a 2010. It's rare to see ships more heavily armoured than this in the game. Give that a 1.5. I'm going to try this, but weirdly, I'm going to put it at the beginning of the episode. So you probably already know what's going to happen, because I'm going to switch this around a bit, because I kind of want the cool stuff at the beginning. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Bye for now.